So we're going to be talking about pH in the bloodstream and this equation right here. So this represents a really important process in the blood that shows really how carbon dioxide is moved, but also how it's connected to pH level. And this whole equation is what's used to maintain the correct pH level of blood. The pH level is between 7.35 and 7.45. So it's a slightly basic, really narrow band of pH that's required for organs to function. So the body uses buffers to maintain the balance of pH. And the most important of these is bicarbonate, or HCO3. So the equation CO2 plus H2O leads to this carbonic acid, which immediately breaks down into HCO3, or bicarbonate, and a hydrogen ion. And I recently learned that, fun fact, a hydrogen ion is really just a proton, because hydrogen atom is just one proton and one electron, and so when it loses that electron, it's just a proton floating around out there. So I thought that was kind of cool. Anyways, so yeah, this is like an equilibrium in the blood. So if you increase one side, like an increase in CO2, then this other side has to increase as well. And in the blood, when there's excess blood, when there's excess CO2 from metabolism, which we all know, it goes through this process and it ends up increasing hydrogen ions. And those additional hydrogen ions, if you remember from the beginning of class, is what makes something acidic. Or in this case, since the pH is above 7, it makes it less alkaline. Decreasing CO2 levels then also decreases hydrogen ions, which increases pH and decreases acidity or increases alkalinity. So this is what's maintaining the pH level of our blood. And when blood starts to become more acidic from that activity, that's also picked up by the brain. So when the pH changes, the brain will increase the respiration via our sympathetic nervous system, as you remember from our previous chapter. This increase in respiration makes room for the CO2 to move out, which decreases CO2 levels, which increases pH, making the blood less acidic. So I have this process. Let's try to see if I can get the equation and the picture here. I have this a little more detailed here so you can see what's happening. So as the body functions, ATP, muscles are using ATP, it's creating CO2. This excess CO2 moves into a capillary and a red blood cell where there's H2O. So you get the CO2, you get the H2O, there's also this enzyme, carbonic anhydrase, that is a catalyst for this reaction. So it happens very quickly. The CO2 and the H2O combine to form the carbonic acid. Now this, as we mentioned, almost immediately breaks down into our bicarbonate and a hydrogen ion. Next, there is an exchange with a chlorine ion, and the bicarbonate moves into the plasma. And you might remember that CO2, from last week, is also transported by hemoglobin, but this only accounts for about 25% of the total CO2. Most of it flows through plasma in this form, captured in bicarbonate. So RBCs and plasma move through the veins, through the heart, into the lungs, where it goes out to the alveoli, where the gases are exchanged. So when air is aspirated, here's the inside of the alveoli, or the alveola, there's a lower concentration of CO2 in it. So CO2 wants to flow out of the capillary into the alveola, So that changes our little equilibrium equation inside the red blood cell. And now there's less CO2. And as a result, we have another exchange with the chlorine, and the bicarbonate gets pulled into the cell. Chlorine comes out. There's now this hydrogen ion that combines with our bicarbonate to again make this H2CO3 carbonic acid, which then breaks down into CO2 and H2O. The CO2 gets pulled into the alveola, which then gets expirated out. And that is how, that's how CO2 is moving around, and how the pH is being maintained. There are some little interactive activities in the text that I thought were helpful for me, but also there are tons of YouTube videos out there explaining this process if you want to learn about it more. It's pretty cool stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching my video, and take care.